Hello, everybody. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to take a group of completely different people, lock them in a room, and see them emerge as a powerful and effective group? Although this seems like a tall, seemingly impossible task, The Breakfast Club captures a moment that teaches us how this is possible. I've seen this movie multiple times and studied the group and their interactions, which gives me the right to talk to you about this today. And from this movie, we as an audience can learn many life lessons, and we can take those lessons, learn from them, and apply them to our lives and teach ourselves how to get along with diverse groups, which is something that is very important. The 5 students in attention in the Breakfast Club meet the 3 criteria for a group who effectively communicates as they manage to strive past their inherent stereotypical differences and emerge as a strong and effective group. They do this by having raw and purposeful communication that allows them to learn about one another. They use shared vulnerability to establish a common goal, to understand one another better, and they learn to manage initial conflict that comes with their differences in personality and social standing. Now that I've set the stage, I'll tell you how the group in the Breakfast Club employs raw and purposeful communication to learn about one another. And to do this, I'll first talk about a study that was published in 2021 that examines how clear, structured communication leads to effective ratification of social dilemmas like the ones we see in the Breakfast Club, as far as things in high school go with social groups and cliques and things like that. This shows how key communication elements like problem awareness, which we see up there, and purposeful discussion improve cooperation. And this is found in Structuring Communication Effectively by Andreas Hansel. And this study is exhibited in the Breakfast Club because they had communication elements that were mentioned in the article. Tapping into painful life experiences like Bender talking about his abusive home life lends to raw, purposeful communication that helped the group break down barriers and become effective communicators. And finally, their communication then goes from sarcastic and sometimes insulting to meaningful and deep discussions, allowing them to get to know one another and realize they are all the same. Building off of purposeful communication, let's now discuss how shared vulnerability makes the Breakfast Club group a group of effective communicators. Shared vulnerability in this group proves how they effectively communicate. And to prove this, we look at how vulnerability leads to trust. As Walker says in Trust in Group Decisions, trust is defined in group communication as a group-directed willingness to accept vulnerability to actions of the members based on the expectation that members will perform a particular action important to the group. And this is shown by our group through them sharing their personal stories and insecurities, and which reflects the author's claim and proves them effective communicators, the author being Walker of this article. The shared vulnerability breeds active listening, and as you can see up there, active listening equals effective group communication, which is one of the main points of our discussion here. And this active listening brings out a shared group identity, which is revealed in the final letter that they write, which shows they have found a way to reach a common goal and find alignment in their identity, which at the beginning of the movie seemed so different and so far-fetched. And now that we've talked about shared vulnerability, this group uses that shared vulnerability to learn how to manage initial internal conflict and find deeper meaning with one another. To do this, first they have a storming phase, which is talked about in our textbook from Nicole Blau, when she says communication is increased in a storming phase and group members are getting to know one another and trying to figure out group roles. Conflict often occurs in this phase. This is almost like a brainstorming phase, if you want to look at it that way, where they're kind of bouncing ideas off of one another. And like she says, it can lead to conflict, especially in the Breakfast Club when they realize that they have a lot of different ideas because they're so diverse. Rather than avoiding their stereotypical differences, they find a way to use it to find deeper understanding in one another. In the movie, Andrew criticizes Bender and his attitude, and this allows Bender to kind of look at his own life and realize that maybe he did have a bad attitude about certain things and he could be more grateful about certain things. By not avoiding the conflict and actively listening and talking it out, the Breakfast Club proves that they can effectively communicate to reach a shared voice and garner mutual respect for one another. And to wrap things up, the Breakfast Club can assertively be labeled as an effective group because of their ability to reach a common goal and find an identity in an initially diverse group. And they do this by having raw and purposeful communication, using shared vulnerability, learning to manage initial conflicts. This group is a beautiful example of how we can become, and what started as 5 individuals or 5 individual stereotypes of people left as a cohesive group of effective communicators. Thank you. And here's my background. Here's my audience.